Hello, signing on. I'm Katrina. I am a registered nurse and I've worked and specialized in trauma, mental health, and substance use. I've been doing that for 20 years. And I started my channel with the intention of sharing what I know. This is for information purposes only. I don't do any counseling or anything through the comments, but I do appreciate the comments. Thank you. I promised my boy that I would support him to build something in his room, so this will be a quicker video. And I apologize for any kind of sound challenges. I have ordered microphones. Thank you for suggesting them. I am new to YouTubing or vlogging and all of this, so I am learning. I am putting myself out there. I am doing this to also put myself out of my comfort zone and to share what I know and to also be a mirror for people. I have been through a lot in my life. You look at me, you might not see all the things, all the scars, the battle wounds. However, they're there. They have been my biggest lessons. They have been I'm grateful for them now. I'm grateful for the pain that I've gone through, the trauma I've gone through. However, there was times where I wasn't sure if I was going to make it out of it. However, here I am and so happy to be here. At other times I will talk about those. I'll get even more vulnerable and talk about that. I do talk about, if you're a nurse and you're interested in peer support circles, we have them. I run them through Nurse to Nurse Peer Support. You can go to n2nps.com, and if you're a nurse or healthcare professional and you're interested in coming to those peer circles. And otherwise, my other work is counseling folks and providing Reiki, energy medicine, and I'm going to be taking a tuning fork course soon, so I'll have that by April sometime. Bring that into my practice as well. All exciting things that are just lighting me up and bringing joy, and yeah, so excited about it. Anyways, I'm gotta get into the house, but me showing up here tonight is my commitment to myself. And I could have felt guilty, and when he said, "Oh, Mom, no, I gotta do this and I want your help," and I'm like, yeah, I gotta go do this thing that I do every day, and takes not much time out of my day. I don't edit these videos. I might take a little off the front or the end, and sometimes I make shorts, but I don't know how to edit. I am taking a YouTube video course to learn how to do this better, but I'm doing my best. So thank you again for any suggestions if this is something that you know about, or if you're listening to my videos and you're having challenges hearing it, let me know. I don't always listen back. Most times I don't. So yeah. So tonight I thought, and what came up for me, even just today, someone was texting me, a friend of mine, and it was like they had seen one of my videos on procrastination and that they enjoyed it, and that made me feel a little bit vulnerable. I was like, oh, and but then I realized that these are helping people. So if it resonates with you, you can stay or you can go, and that's okay. Yeah, we don't all, we aren't everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. we go to the people that we can, you know, we can feel something from them. It's just easy, or it's they just brighten your day, or you like their voice, the sound of their voice, whatever it might be, right? So there's just something. Anyways, vulnerability. I am being vulnerable right now, talking on here. I share my emotions. I share how I'm, you know, going about the day, or something that might come up. And this vulnerability comes up quite a bit in counseling with people. And I personally have experienced vulnerability as well. So when I first say that, you might have a judgment on what vulnerability, or you might not, what it is. And if we're being vulnerable, you might think that that is a weakness, or we're showing weakness. However, studies have shown different. So her name is Brene Brown. I'm sure many of you have heard of Brene. She is started off as a social worker, and she has her PhD and Master's of Social Work, and she's done a ton of research, and vulnerability was one of the things that she looked at. And this is the book that it's out of. This is an amazing book if you want to get in touch with your emotions again. It's just beautiful. I love it. Look at the artwork. It's so pretty too. Yeah. Anyways, what she talks about in this little snippet is that vulnerability is not a weakness. And this is what she found in the studies that they did. It's our greatest measure of courage. So, you know, we're not going to go out. Maybe some of us are going to speak to our emotions if we're in a good place on something like YouTube. And that's not for everyone, and that's fair. Others of us, you know, because we're putting ourselves into this emotional exposure, it can be very triggering, activating, and we might not want to do that, right? And that's okay. But there are people that we feel safe with and that we can be vulnerable with. And, you know, think about, like, if you have a good relationship with your mom and you're sharing something that's in your heart that just, you need it to get out, right? And how good it felt after to, you know, speak to her or someone else that you're really close to, a good friend, or, you know, your grandpa or your dad, or, you know, just someone that just makes you feel good to be around. And, you know, you took a risk, and you shared your heart, and it was, you know, it just made you feel so good to be validated and heard and seen, and, you know, that they empathized with you. And I hope that that's what everyone gets, right? So what she did speak about, and I'll just, you know, mention it in this little blurb too, is that her most recent research on courage and leadership is that the ability to embrace vulnerability emerged as a prerequisite for all of the daring leadership behaviors. If we can't handle uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure in a way that aligns with our values and furthers our organizational goals, we can't lead. Yeah, so, and she also mentions that courage requires the willingness to lean into uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. You know, some people think that vulnerability is about, you know, they might judge it as oversharing, or they may, you know, again, say that it's a weakness, but yeah, it's not. You know, when we can find ways to feel safe and share our heart with others, that connection I say this so often, but a connection is medicine. And when we can do that, we can pick the people in our life, or animal, you know, our dog or cat or chicken, whatever it might be, that's just like, we can be vulnerable with just ourselves, and you know, and we can show up and be accepted. There's just nothing better. It just feels so good. It's so freeing, you know? And it just feels that you can feel the lightness when you're able to do that. And you can see it in people as well when you allow them to be vulnerable and cry, and you allow them to just be them, and from that non-judgmental place. So, you know, if you're one of those people that people like to share with, and you can be that person for someone, it's a beautiful thing as well. So yeah, if you're thinking about being vulnerable and you feel like you can be vulnerable with someone that you can, you know, you have that trust with and you feel safe, just keep practicing. It gets easier and easier and easier, and your heart opens more and more and more, until one day your heart doesn't ache as much, and you know, that shame, that guilt, that blame that we might be putting on ourselves gets less and less, and you know, that self-love keeps growing. So yeah, vulnerability, it's a thing. Yeah, it's not a weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage, as Brene Brown says. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye.